The once proud starbase of Epsilon 9 lay in ruins, beneath a sky filled with swirling smoke and flickering bursts of distant explosions. What had started as a beacon of hope for the galaxy's free worlds now seemed like a graveyard where dreams and lives had been buried. Alien warships, sleek and deadly, circled overhead like vultures, their weapons tearing apart the fragile remains of the station's defenses. Inside the battered command center, Commander Thalrek's hands trembled as he stared at the glowing tactical map, red dots closing in from every direction. His voice was low but steady as he gave the last orders to his tired soldiers, those who could still hear over the chaos. "Hold the line. We buy time for the evacuation." Every second counted. Yet the hope of survival felt as thin as the smoke curling from broken consoles. Outside, corridors echoed with frantic footsteps and distant alarms, the sound of distant screams mingling with the heavy thrum of dying engines. The Allied forces, species from many worlds united against a merciless invader, had fought hard, but the enemy's advance was relentless. The alien invaders showed no mercy, their weapons capable of turning entire fleets into ashes in moments. Thalrek's thoughts flashed to the families he'd left behind, the promise he made to protect this outpost, and the crushing weight of failure pressing down on him. Around him, officers relayed messages of retreat, the last star cruisers limping away to safety as explosions shook the station. In the dim light, a young technician approached, holding a small device, the last functioning comm beacon, its screen flickering weakly. "Commander, the distress signal is ready, but no one is answering," she said, voice tight with fear. Thalrek took the device, his mind racing for options. Their allies were scattered, communications jammed by the enemy, and the odds stacked impossibly against them. Suddenly, through the shattered viewport, a strange glint caught his eye, a formation of ships, moving fast and with purpose, cutting through the enemy lines like a blade of light. They were unlike any vessels he'd seen before, larger, faster, with hulls gleaming even in the haze of battle. The soldiers paused, weapons lowering slightly as whispers spread. Could this be the reinforcements they had prayed for? The new ships swooped in with terrifying precision, their crews executing maneuvers that stunned even the battle-hardened veterans watching. Beams of blue energy lanced out, striking enemy ships and causing them to explode in brilliant flashes. The tides of battle shifted almost instantly. The hopeless defenders found renewed strength in the arrival of these unknown warriors. "Commander," Thalrek's heart pounded with a mixture of relief and caution. Who were these saviors? And why had they come at the very moment all hope seemed lost? As the alien attackers reeled from the unexpected assault, the human soldiers aboard the new ships descended, ready to fight with an intensity born from unyielding spirit and unmatched discipline. The air grew thick with tension and anticipation, the desperate battle taking on a new shape. The fate of Epsilon 9, and perhaps the entire galaxy, now hinged on this last stand, where the unexpected arrival of humanity might just turn the tide. The strange ships that had appeared like shining arrows through the dark void didn't just save Epsilon 9. They changed everything in ways no one had expected. As the alien forces scrambled to regroup, their confidence shattered by the sudden and fierce attack, the new arrivals moved with purpose and precision unlike anything seen before in this war-torn sector. Commander Thalrek, still watching from the battered command center, felt a strange mixture of awe and uncertainty as the ships closed in, their sleek designs unfamiliar yet somehow intimidating. Moments later, the ships began to land, descending onto the ruined docking bays with mechanical grace and efficiency, their engines humming quietly under the harsh lights of the starbase. From their hatches poured soldiers clad in armor unlike any known to the Allied forces, humans. They moved swiftly, disciplined but calm, their eyes sharp and scanning every shadow as they took positions. The air was thick with tension, the Allied troops holding their breaths as the humans began to push back the invaders with a ferocity and order that was almost shocking. It was not just their weapons, though those were powerful and strange. It was their way of fighting, their unshakable focus, and a confidence that made the alien enemies hesitate. Thalrek ordered his own forces to follow the humans' lead, watching as the humans coordinated attacks, covering fire, and strategic withdrawals with an ease that inspired hope. Questions buzzed through the minds of the Allied soldiers who, were these humans, and why had they come now, when all seemed lost? As the battle raged, a human officer approached Thalrek, his voice calm but firm. "We have been watching your fight," he said. "We know the enemy well. We came because the threat is greater than any one species. We fight together or fall alone." His words struck something deep in the commander's heart, a promise of strength in numbers, a chance to fight beyond despair. The humans brought with them technology that felt both advanced and practical. Weapons that fired with deadly accuracy but didn't waste energy, armor that seemed to adapt to threats, and ships that moved like living things through the battlefield. The invaders, who had expected an easy victory, now faced a new enemy, one who was not only skilled but relentless. Slowly but surely, the tide turned. Alien ships that had torn through the defenders like storms were driven back by human firepower and tactics. Ground troops retook lost corridors, pushing deeper into the station's heart. And everywhere, the presence of the humans sparked something vital: hope. Yet even as victory began to seem possible, shadows lingered. Thalrek could see the enemy. Commander retreating to a hidden command ship, preparing for a final strike. The invaders were not beaten, just wounded. The humans knew this too, their faces set in grim determination as they planned the next move. The Allied forces had never seen soldiers like these humans before, tough, adaptable, and willing to fight not just for survival, but for something bigger, a future where all free worlds could stand together. The battle for Epsilon 9 was far from over, but now, with human soldiers arriving in force, it had taken a new shape. What had begun as a desperate defense was becoming a powerful resistance, and the question remained: could this alliance hold long enough to turn the war around, or was this only the start of an even greater fight? The answers lay in the days ahead as the humans and their new allies prepared to face the enemy's fury head-on. As the battle for Epsilon 9 continued to rage, Commander Thalrek found himself watching the humans closely, trying to understand what made them so different from any other soldiers he had ever seen. They moved with a strange combination of calm and urgency, as if every step they took was part of a greater plan, yet flexible enough to change in an instant. Their leader, Captain Jameson, was a man who spoke little, but when he did, his words carried weight and clarity. In a small tent near the command center, Thalrek met with Jameson and his officers, hoping to learn more about these warriors who had come when hope seemed lost. Jameson explained that humanity had survived many wars on their own world, toughened by hardship and conflict, but never broken. "We fight because we must," Jameson said quietly, "because giving up is not an option. When the enemy pushes, we push back harder. When all seems lost, that's when we rise." His eyes held a fire that was both fierce and strangely comforting. The humans brought with them new ideas and tactics that the Allied forces quickly saw were powerful. They taught the aliens how to move in smaller teams, how to use the environment to their advantage, and how to strike at enemy weaknesses without risking everything. It was clear that the humans had learned from hard experience, developing ways to survive against enemies much stronger and more numerous. Meanwhile, the human soldiers did not just fight, they inspired. Where fear and despair had once ruled, the humans brought confidence and determination. Their presence reminded everyone that no matter how dark the night, the dawn was still possible. But beneath the growing hope lay an uneasy truth. The enemy was not just any foe. They were relentless, cruel, and smart. Their commanders adapted quickly to the human tactics, sending shock troops and new weapons that tested the limits of the Alliance's defenses. Thalrek saw that even with the humans, victory was far from guaranteed. One night, as a quiet moment settled over the base, Jameson shared a story with Thalrek, a tale of Earth's past, of battles fought and lost, and of why humans never surrendered. "We've been pushed to the edge before," he said, "but we learned that strength is not just muscle or weapons. It's the will to keep going, the courage to stand when others fall, and the hope to believe things can be better." His words echoed in Thalrek's mind, stirring something deep inside. That night, the commander realized the human factor was more than their weapons or skill. It was their spirit. It was a force that could unite the fractured alliance and challenge the enemy in ways that no technology alone could achieve. Yet danger loomed. The alien invaders prepared a new assault, gathering forces for a final strike aimed at breaking the starbase once and for all. The Allied leaders, now working closely with the humans, knew they had to act quickly. In the tense hours before battle, soldiers on all sides prepared, some with fear, some with hope, and some with a fierce determination born from their new trust in each other. When the enemy attacked again, it was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Human soldiers led daring raids deep behind enemy lines, disabling weapons and cutting communications. Alien warriors used their unique abilities in new ways, coordinated perfectly with human tactics. Explosions lit the dark skies, and the cries of battle mixed with shouts of encouragement and the steady commands of officers. Thalrek stood on the command deck, watching as the fight unfolded. The humans fought not just with skill, but with heart, turning the tide in moments when all seemed lost. Slowly, the enemy forces began to falter. Their advance stopped and pushed back. It was not just a battle of weapons, but of willpower, a test of whether the United Alliance could stand against the darkest threat the galaxy had faced. As the dust settled, a cautious hope grew. The humans had proven they were more than just fighters. They were a symbol of what was possible when courage met determination. Commander Thalrek knew the war was far from over, but for the first time, he believed the future could be different. The human factor had arrived, and with it, a chance to change everything. With the enemy momentarily pushed back, the Allied forces and the humans knew that this was the time to act together, fully and without hesitation. Commander Thalrek and Captain Jameson gathered representatives from every species still able to fight, sitting around a rough-hewn table beneath the flickering lights of the war room. The air was heavy with urgency, the faces around the table tired but determined. There was no room for doubt or hesitation now. The humans shared battle plans that were bold and daring, relying on fast strikes, teamwork, and taking advantage of the enemy's weaknesses, but more importantly, on trust and cooperation between very different species. Thalrek saw how difficult it was for some to accept the humans' ways at first. Old rivalries and fears lingered beneath polite faces, but the clear success of the humans' tactics began to melt those barriers. Slowly, a united front formed, not just a group fighting, side by side, but a single force, driven by a shared purpose and respect. On the front lines, the soldiers of many worlds trained together, learning each other's strengths and covering each other's weaknesses. Human sharpshooters worked with alien scouts, human engineers teamed up with alien medics, and together, they moved like a well-oiled machine. The atmosphere changed from one of survival to one of hope and strength, even though danger loomed closer than ever. The enemy, furious at their losses, prepared their deadliest weapon yet, a massive assault fleet led by their cruelest generals, ready to crush the Alliance in one final devastating blow. The Allied forces knew that if they failed, not just Epsilon 9, but many free worlds would fall. As the fleet approached, thick clouds of tension covered the starbase. Soldiers checked their weapons again and again. Pilots ran through last-minute drills, and commanders made impossible decisions. In seconds, Thalrek felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him, but he also saw the fire in the eyes of every fighter. The humans stood at the heart of the defense, their courage contagious, their discipline unbreakable. When the enemy fleet struck, it was a storm of fire and steel, shaking the very foundations of the starbase. The battle was fierce, brutal, and desperate. The Allied ships fought with everything they had, coordinated perfectly by human commanders who anticipated every move the enemy made. Ground forces held their positions against wave after wave of attackers, pushing back with newfound strength. Thalrek watched the battle unfold, heart pounding with every explosion, every loss, every small victory. The united front was tested beyond limits, but it held. Even when the enemy unleashed their deadliest weapons, the Alliance adapted quickly, using human technology and tactics to counter the threat. As the battle wore on, the enemy's confidence shattered. They realized that this was not a simple fight, it was a battle of wills, and the Alliance, powered by human spirit and unity, refused to break. Slowly the tide turned. The enemy fleet began to falter, their ships falling one by one to coordinated strikes that combined alien power with human precision. On the ground, enemy troops retreated under the pressure of the relentless Allied counterattack. The starbase was battered but not broken, its defenders proving that together they were stronger than any foe. When the last enemy ship fled into the darkness, a cheer rose from the survivors, a sound filled with relief, pride, and hope. Commander Thalrek looked at Captain Jameson and nodded, knowing that the war was far from over, but that this victory had changed everything. The United Front had shown the galaxy that even in the darkest times, different worlds could stand together and fight not just to survive, but to win. The humans had brought more than soldiers and weapons. They had brought hope, unity, and a belief that no matter the enemy, the strength of many could overcome any darkness. The battle was over, but the war had changed forever, and as dawn broke over the battered horizon of Epsilon 9, the survivors stood together, tired but unbroken, facing a future that once seemed impossible. Commander Thalrek looked out across the ruined landscape, now quiet except for the hum of repairs and the soft voices of those rebuilding what had been lost. The humans, still standing strong, moved among the Allied forces, not as strangers, but as partners, teaching, helping, and sharing their knowledge with quiet confidence. It was clear that their arrival was no accident. They had come not just to fight, but to stay, to offer a new hope for the galaxy's scattered, free worlds. The alien leaders gathered with the human commanders, planning the next steps, knowing that the enemy was still out there, wounded but not defeated. Yet, for the first time in a long time, there was belief that together they could face whatever came next. The human soldiers, who had once been the unknown force that changed the tide of battle, now worked alongside their allies to rebuild starbases, train new soldiers, and share technology that could protect more worlds. Every day brought small victories, a repaired ship, a healed wound, a new alliance formed. But beneath the surface, a new challenge awaited. The enemy was retreating, regrouping in shadows beyond known space, preparing for a return that would test the alliance's strength again. The knowledge of this danger was a constant shadow, pushing the Allied forces to prepare harder and move faster. Yet even in this tension, the spirit of unity grew. Thalrek saw that the humans had not only changed the battle, but had sparked something deeper. A belief that no matter how different the species, the desire for freedom and peace could unite them all. In quiet moments he thought of the long road ahead, the sacrifices yet to come, and the fragile hope that had been reborn on the ruins of Epsilon 9. The new dawn was not just about victory, but about building something lasting, a future where humanity's arrival was remembered not only as a turning point in battle, but as the moment when the galaxy began to stand together as one. The sun rose higher, casting light on faces tired but determined, on hands reaching out to rebuild, and on hearts ready to face whatever darkness might come, knowing they would do it together. The war was far from over, but the story had changed. When all hope was lost, human soldiers had arrived, and they had changed everything.